anything.
It is that time of the week. Grasshoppers. She's back.
Hey, grasshoppers.
What's happening, Ali Krug? How are you? So Ali, again, just so everybody knows, a fantastic mother of two wonderful boys, wife to a veteran still in the Navy, serving this country. Thank you very much. She is a epidemiologist. ABC Medical Writing is her company. She also is a lumberjack, runner, outdoor fitness expert. Anything else throw in there?
Talk to strangers on the street.
Talk to strangers. Ask them.
If you see me coming for you, hide.
Run. That's why you're such a fitness expert at Google, because people see you coming and they run the other way. So
I don't know. She has questions. Yeah. So today is going to be a fun day for the grasshoppers. We are going to take questions from them. They have to try to. No, I should not say, don't stump me. That's very easy to do. Give me good ones I can answer.
Nice. So I know you like this stuff, and I've talked to you before about this. We have our walk for Alzheimer's coming up October 3rd. Now we've upped the ante a little bit to try to raise more money. So once we've got to reach, the goal is to get to $10,000. So at $7,500, we will have a drawing. Actually, it won't be a drawing. The person that has put in the most money at that point, when we get to $7,500, they get to come to my home for a Sunday meal. If we get to $10,000, we'll then have a drawing, take names out of a hat, and have another person come to that Sunday meal. And along with that, Ron Greshner, who was on, my former teammate, suggested that we bring them to, if it's $1,000 is the most that somebody puts in, we'll bring them to a hockey game, to a Ranger game. If somebody puts in $2,000, then we'll bring two people.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yes. So hopefully raise a lot of money. And then we've got we're doing a show, one of these shows from a restaurant that is right by the Tappan Zee Bridge. Well, it's called the Mario Cuomo Bridge, but it was the Tappan Zee Bridge. They're going to light up the bridge purple on Saturday, the 25th, in honor of Alzheimer's. So we're doing, there's a restaurant right there. Yeah. The gentleman is actually a fantastic guy. This River Market Grill in Terrytown, New York. Glenn Voigt is the owner, huge Ranger fan. He was also the general manager of Windows of the World, the restaurant at the top of the towers. He was not there that day, but
I'm going to write that down. River Market in Terrytown.
River Market Grill. It's posted on my Facebook page. I just posted that. River Market Grill, Terrytown, New York. Great place. Okay. Fantastic food.
I'm not on Facebook, Tom, so I will use my.
That's right.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. It was an extremely chaotic year this year. The mother taxi is really getting worked.
Yeah. You came up the other day in our show, Kevin Allen, who I do the show with on Mondays and Wednesdays, used to write with USA Today, talking about, he lives in the Michigan area, and the Detroit Red Wings, they have a rookie camp up in Lansing, Michigan. No, not Lansing, it's Traverse City, Michigan. I think they were against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and a good young player for Detroit got hit from behind in the boards. Ultimately, it was okay. They had to carry him off the ice, but he's fine now. But I was thinking, I mentioned about you being at that game in New Jersey with being so wild like that. And again, I was very careful what I said, and I really mean this. USA Hockey, I think, does a fantastic job. Hockey Canada does a fantastic job. But in an effort to sometimes keep players safe, sometimes you create other issues. And that's one thing, because hitting, when do they are allowed to hit? When do they start to hit? 11, 12 years old?
I believe it's bantam now. They can, and it all depends. I think in rec hockey, Tom, I think that there's no checking. It's only in travel.
Right.
And I think that starts at bantam.
Right.
But it's such an interesting thing that you just mentioned, unintended consequences. So what do you see about that? Like they're trying to, so what were you getting at there?
Well, I think in that case, and again, I'm generalizing a little bit when I say this. Yeah. So the kids don't get to hit until bantam. So all of a sudden now they get to hit, and they all want to hit. I want to hit somebody. Mm-hmm. I was the same way, definitely. You're young, the adrenaline's pumping, you get to hit somebody. And kids know they're not supposed to be hitting from behind.
Yeah, but I think parents saw that too.
Yeah,
we definitely saw that. And I don't just going through, puberty, and they're really young, and testosterone's firing, and making huge generalizations here. But they were definitely amped about the change to being able to do that. And now this year, new rules went in place September 1st regarding hitting and regarding checking, and to try to keep it from being quite so. I'm not going to summarize this very well. I read through the rules, but I'm not an expert. But they're really trying to minimize the intentional injury. Like you really have to be going for the puck There's no late hits. You can't like finish a check if the puck has already left the player, I believe. Again, I'm not a coach, just a mom, but I will say that I really think that the focus on hitting is a distraction from the game of hockey, which is a beautiful game. And I have really mixed feelings about this. I really enjoyed watching my son's high school game last year. He was not on a travel team. They didn't have a travel team. And they played some fast and good hockey, and there was plenty of contact, but it was not checking. And I just don't know. This is me, hockey mom. I'm going to say something that probably no one will agree with, but I don't know that checking's necessary to make hockey an amazing sport.
I know.
Is that really a bad thing to say?
No, it's not nowadays. No, it's there's so two famous. I think Ken Dryden was a former goaltender with the Montreal Canadiens. Very well spoken, intelligent man who's written books, and I think he's come out against it too. Eric Lindros, another great player whose career was ended by multiple concussions. Yeah. They both have taken that stance that we really don't need to have hitting now. So I grew up in an era where you were taught I was a big, strong farm boy defenseman. My job was to hit people, and my job was actually to hurt people. Now, I didn't want to hurt, it wasn't like somebody saying we want you to hurt them, permanently. They wanted me to. There was more that intimidation. So go hit somebody; it would hurt. They would not want to come back again and play against me. That was the concept. But you're right. especially now as a father, and you as a mother,
right?
Your own kids, you want them to enjoy the great game of hockey, like you said, but we talk amongst ourselves as former players who had multiple concussions. We're pretty positive. We just assume that we have CTE. We have brain damage from all the concussions we had.
The thing that I noticed, I'm just going to speak freely with you, Tom, because we do that here. The thing that I have noticed is that USA Hockey and others really try to do a good job with concussion training, concussion awareness. And in Japan, they actually had a whole forum for the players themselves to be alert as to the symptoms for concussion. But you know what it's like on a bench. It is busy on the bench. Yes. And it's all about getting the game done. And honestly, I just don't know that our coaches are well enough trained to identify a concussion on the bench. I really think you ought to have a person standing over near there, whether it's your person in the penalty box who's right there, who's a trained, there's concussion checklists made by the CDC and others. There's apps on the phone. There's a quick list you can go through. There's things that you can do right on the bench, but the coaches are busy. I think we ought to actually have a concussion, point of contact whose sole job is to see a player who's had any head contact come off the ice. You don't go back on until you go through that concussion screener.
Well, they have that protocol in the National Hockey League where they have spotters at every game because the players are their own worst enemy, and I certainly was too. I would never want to admit that I was hurt. So the players and you can see sometimes on the bench. So that spotter, I think I've got this correct, will call down to the trainer or get a hold of the trainer. That you'll see the trainer come over to the player, and the player's shaking his head, go, no, I'm fine, because especially in a big game, a playoff game, I think it's 10-minute minimum. They have to take them off to the dark room and check them. And same thing in the NFL. I'm pretty sure they have that as well. You're right. And you're going back to your argument. Should there be hitting at all? I guess. Okay. So I'll play devil's advocate just for the sake of it here. Yeah. I guess my concern would be maybe not as much at the youth level, but if you try to have that at the NHL level where you get up to faster hockey, part of the issue is becoming that the players think that the rules are going to protect them. The referee is going to protect them. Well, that's after the fact. If a penalty is called,
for sure.
So now players need to learn to protect themselves. Now we taught when somebody's coming at us for a hit, you get against the boards. Don't be away from the boards. Be against the boards so that you get thrown back in, or get your stick up. Now you don't have to get your stick up into the other guy's face. Just get it into his chest so you're pushing away from him to kind of protect yourself. And you just don't see that as much now, where kids they're just not protecting themselves because they're just brought up in a system now where they think the rules are going to protect them. And again, all great stuff that they're trying to do, but again, those what terms consequences?
Unintended consequences. Now, when you're a parent watching, and you've watched as many years of hockey as I have, you can tell which kids have been exposed to low-level sort of, physical contact game, not checking, but just, using their body to separate someone else from the puck or protecting the puck. You can tell which kids are really comfortable and very fluent doing that, and which ones it's kind of new to them. And there's just, I can't really articulate it very well, but there's a level of trust that I have in my gut watching some of the kids play, where I know that they are aware, they're situationally aware, they're using their body, they're guarding, they're doing everything that they should. They're unlikely to get hurt. And then there's others where they just look exposed. They just
I know.
look like they need hours more exposure and experience in how to anticipate and deal with a hit. I don't mean a checking hit. I just mean hockey is an extremely fast game, and stuff happens really fast. Like even if checking's not involved, you try to somebody's coming up there on a breakaway, they're trying to score, and things can happen at the last instant. You're coming in fast and hot to the net, right? You lose your footing or you get caught, you catch an edge, and you end up in the boards with maybe your head first. Yeah. It's a dangerous enough game without adding checking to it. I personally think. I don't think it's necessary.
Well, and I'm with you. Obviously, the hitting from behind is not allowed. You shouldn't be doing it ever. It's against the rules, all that stuff. Yeah. But to your point, you do see some players sometimes they're just unaware. They feel like the rules are going to protect them, so the puck may be in the corner and they're 3 feet away from the boards with their head down, leaning in to get the puck. And yeah, you should not be getting hit from behind in that situation, but it does happen sometimes. And again, it's okay. You're going to call a penalty later, but in the meantime, some poor young boy or girl gets hurt. So. Yeah,
I don't like seeing it. And I was kind of wondering when I was watching that crazy game, and even just this past weekend when things started to look like they wanted to get a little bit out of hand, I was thinking, I wonder if I'm going to be that hockey mom who takes a strong stand against checking. I wonder if I'll be that person. Yeah. Because I just don't think it's necessary, and it actually makes everyone nervous. It makes you worried. It's just.
And again, nobody at that time is thinking about that player 40 or 50 years down the road.
Right.
I remember last year was in the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes, a Greek quarterback for Kansas City Chiefs, got knocked out. I think the game before the Super Bowl, got knocked out. Was totally wobbly. He couldn't stand up on his own, and you knew right then he was going to play in the Super Bowl no matter what, and nobody was going to stop him. But like us old guys who've been through it are sitting there saying, "Well, that's nice. He's a hero, but where's he going to be? Who's going to be around in 40 or 50 years when he's now got brain damage?" Right?
Yeah.
And
there's a hockey wife who I greatly respect, really love her. I don't know if you can say hockey wife, but married to a former NHL player. And, it is a very real thing. The gentleman is young and she's thinking to herself, in not too long, he may not know who I am.
Yeah.
And I had not actually heard anybody say that, but we all love the game of hockey. No one, speaking for myself or anyone else, any other mom out there who's kind of questioning is checking, adding value to the sport. None of us want to undermine the sport. And I'm sure my husband might have a different opinion than me. But I do think that it verges on the unnecessary.
So intimidation used to be a big part of the game. Fighting, hitting, that used to be a strategy in the game. I grew up playing that way all the time. From the time as a kid, I was always like, hit him, fight, don't let your teammates get picked on. That's almost gone now. And the intimidation isn't part of the strategy of the game any longer. And it shows in, the type of players that they have in each lineup. Most teams back then would have 2, 3, 4 guys who were pretty much just fighters. Now you don't have that. You can't afford to have that. You need to. The Rangers toughened up a little bit this year because of what happened to them last year. But even the guys they got, this Ryan Reeves, who's a tough guy, can still play the game and play it well. So, now that we talk about it, I think to myself, okay, so if you didn't have hitting, it's really not the hit that matters anymore. The hit used to mean something before. It was intimidating. Yeah. Now that's pretty much. You can still like some of the great.
You're saying, Tom. So it used to be not only strategy, it used to also be part culture, and it was almost inseparable from the game. But now that we're starting to separate the two, the strategy and the hitting, I guess maybe we're more able to appreciate the beauty of the game and the skill that's involved for the young kids. And of course, it's still an extremely physical game. You could run into the boards and hurt your knee with no one around. It's not a game for the weak of heart, for sure. But I do think it leaves more room for more kids to participate if we rethink our stance on checking. And we need more kids participating because guess what the pandemic did?
Yeah.
It restricted kids from activities, and they all need something fun to do. Like obesity rates. I was just reading a study, obesity rates are up. So the last thing we need to do is, cause kids to, have some attrition from the sport because of this. Oh, suddenly you're 13 and now there's checking or more contact. Of course, this is again just in travel, not in rec or house. So there's still room for everybody under the big umbrella of hockey. But
Adam Fox is a great defenseman here with the New York Rangers. Smaller player, just won the Norris Trophy as the most valuable defenseman in the National Hockey League. A really good young player.
Okay.
The physical game isn't part of his game. It's angles, being smart, good stick position. there's a great defenseman, Nick Lidstrom, who played many years with the Detroit Red Wings. Some argue maybe was one of the best. Bobby Orr is probably the best, but Nick Lidstrom's right up there. Same thing. He hardly ever hit anybody. It was all angles he's using. He's smart. So
I'll have to ask the family. You said Adam Fox, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, Tom. I'm so bad with names. I love hockey, but I'm so bad with the.
Well, okay. I try to talk about the medical stuff like you do. I mean, think about that. Like me trying to use some of the words, my T cells. I know my T cells now. That's what it.
Yes. So, Tom, my older son, I would love to have you watch him sometime. I don't know if it's just my own personal bias or I find him so interesting to watch. He's a big defenseman, and talking about angles and things like that, he just has this weird sense of where to be. Huh. And he really doesn't, he's so big. You kind of like, he used to worry about hitting kids by accident and causing injury because he's always been so much bigger than the others. But he actually, I don't know if it's they don't run into him because they're nervous about his size. So they just kind of clear a path, or he has this weird sort of like magnetic repulsion around him, this aura where he just doesn't need to do that at all. There's nothing going on. He just does this like strange one-handed thing with the stick, and he's spinning and he's going in odd directions, and you just don't know what he's doing. And suddenly he's on the breakaway and he's shooting from the blue line.
That might be part of it. Maybe everybody's scared of this big guy swinging a stick around.
Very unusual moves. I've seen more than one parent just kind of chuckling, like, I'm not sure what that was, but it seemed to work.
Oh, by the way, they were measuring their biceps the other day.
Oh, yes. Yes. So Sam, I think, is at least 13. I measured me.
Yeah.
I'm 11 and a half.
Nice. Good job. Gun show.
And Ben is 11, so he's kind of ticked off about that. But he's stronger than me.
Yeah. That's, boys at that age, they got to have biceps. Yeah. I remember when I first started, I was working at a job during the summer, and there's one of these warehouse places, whatever, and they had I was working for this town. That's right. So I was working on the weekend. So I was all by myself working. I was cleaning up the grounds, like the baseball fields and everything. And in the place where you drive the trucks back, they had these beams hanging down. So I would always grab the beams. I'd start doing pull-ups. You're checking out the gun. You're going to look
anywhere.
At the gun. Oh yeah. Oh totally. Yeah, it's funny as a young guy like that, you don't care about any part of your body. You just want big arms, right? You got with guns. Yeah.
I guess so. Like I didn't really know how big a deal that was.
Yeah.
You got to get shirts that fit just right?
Oh, totally. Yes. Oh, my youngest son, he's gonna be mad when I say this publicly, but he would see my shirts and they'd fit the arm properly and everything. He says, "How do you get that? I want my arms to look like." He's jacked now. He's in good shape. He's in really good shape. How are we doing with the whole Delta variant?
Well, I was just thinking about you yesterday because I was reading this fascinating study by Shane Crotty and Alessandro Sette. They are just incredible. La Jolla Institute of Immunology, LJI, out in California. They're incredible. They're like, this is going to sound super nerdy and embarrassing, but what do you call those big movie posters that kids used to put in their rooms? Like really big posters. And
yeah.
I have a few pandemic heroes I want to blow up and like put in my room. They're immunologists and virologists and infectious.
I had Raquel Welch when I was a kid.
Right. Well, that's who I would have. I would have Shane Crotty in my room.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I hope not too many people watch that or repeat that. But anyway, so he was talking about and this amazingly, incredibly detailed paper that just came out, pre-existing cross-reacting T cells. And it's just interesting that every time they study more, they uncover, they like pull another thread of knowledge, and you just have to see where it goes. So it's possible that some people have some memory T cells that protect them against not only this SARS, but perhaps even other coronaviruses. And it might be that, younger kids had exposure, obviously, to the 4 endemic common cold viruses, which are also coronaviruses. And maybe that gives them some cross-reacting T cell. They've been kind of talking about that for a while. So I have to read the whole paper and see what that was. But the T cell, back at it again. It's
amazing how we learn new stuff about our bodies, about the universe, about our planet all the time, right? I think we just know it all now. I was watching a show, a Joe Rogan podcast, may have mentioned this before, this was a couple of months ago. He was talking about that subject, about how he used an example in Greenland. They found a new crater that had been probably was there like 2 million years ago, but it was uncovered because the ice all melted. And here's this huge thing on the earth and nobody ever saw it before. So it's like this theory that we know everything already, or like you've talked about before with the pandemic, particularly with Fauci trying to give out information. The information he had at the time was the right information. They just learn more along the way and learn new stuff. So,
yeah, this has been an interesting week. So talking about Delta variant, talking about boosters and just everything. I guess myself and the people I really respect are very middle of the road, really try to be very balanced people and appreciate that the science is not always black and white. It's not always crystal clear. And when we start to develop policy before the science has the data to support it, that's when we run into these unintended consequences that you were alluding to. And one of them is kids losing opportunities for activities, losing youth sports, not even walking from class to class. They probably lost 5,000 steps in a day by doing virtual school instead of going to school. Obesity rates are up. Guess what? Obesity rates are up in the populations that were already hardest hit by economic differences in well-being and opportunity. So that and learning losses, kids dropping out of school. I haven't checked recently to see where LA ended up as far as their graduation rate, but back last May before June graduation season, they were looking at maybe 20% increase in dropout. So we have a lot of catching up to do already. And these policies that were intended to protect people.
Landscaper.
Oh, okay. I was like, is that a dog? And then it sounded like a dinosaur. I'm like, what's going on over there?
Speaking of my back deck there. My Oasis.
That was impressive. So it's just, It really frustrates me that what I think more and more is adult fears driving policy. And I just think that if we focus less on fear, and I know you don't dwell in the land of fear, and neither do I, but we need to help people get out of the grip of fear and begin to understand how to make themselves well, wellness in the mind, wellness in body, wellness in spirit, wellness as far as charity toward other human beings and good, just exuding goodwill to others. I think really, where would that get us? I know those are all vague concepts, but if we live in the grip of fear, then we're constantly looking for bailouts, whether it's therapeutics to bail us out from getting sick or vaccines to bail us out when we think our immune systems won't work. Not everybody actually needs it.
I know. We had this conversation with Kevin Allen the other day too. We got into talking about politicians and how they're so divided now. We think back to September 12th, 2001, how united we were. There's this fantastic picture of all the politicians, I think, outside the Capitol building. They're all together. And, we need them to change. And I agree with them totally. We need them to change. They should be worried about the United States, not the two different parties. But at the same time, we can't sit around and wait for them to take the lead. We should take the lead as people, right? There should be more people like we're talking about it all the time. Let's be nicer to each other. Like, there's no, and I'm bad sometimes myself on the road too. You get the road rage sometimes. And then, like, Tom, it's stupid. Like, God, what is the big deal? I'm in no hurry to go anywhere, but then I feel like I've got to get mad if somebody cuts me off. And, and I guess that's not something that's new to, but I think we are more ununited than we were in the past. It's unfortunate, but yeah. This young girl, Gabby Petito, is that how I say her last name? That we lost. A terrible story, and to their families, it's awful that they lost her. The only thing that kind of surprises me more, this stuff happens a lot though, and I'm not minimizing her situation at all, but I think we all need to be aware that this stuff does go on more and more where. Women in particular seems are getting hurt by men, and it shouldn't happen. And I think, and that's another thing we need to stand up, men in particular, but everybody stand up and say, listen, you don't do things to that's kind of stuff to women. But it's a sad story.
Yeah, I haven't really been following that too carefully, other than I saw a tip came in and she was found. The thing that I get really interested in is people going missing when they're out hiking, because I like hiking. And I find that I get a little bit obsessed with that and house fires because I love to prevent things. Oh. So I always read about what happened to try to figure out, okay, would I have done that? Or is there something different that could have been done? And I'm kind of obsessive about when I was hiking in Japan, I always made sure someone knew where I was going. Yeah. And now I wonder if people are a little bit more cavalier because our phones can theoretically track us. But the moment you lose battery, if you're not prepared to, think yourself out of a situation, that's really tough.
That is true. Yeah, it's true. After being out there on Survivor and sleeping in the dirt and all that kind of stuff. Now it was different, right? Because there's lots of people around, there's cameramen and all that stuff. But I think, geez, if I'm out here all by myself, you're out in the wilderness there. It's dark and there's no shelter, and you got to build a fire or whatever. That's true.
Yeah, I had a real. This is so stupid, and it's not really all that fascinating. But I was on the SEAL base running yesterday because it's near the school. So I dropped one boy off for Japanese at the high school. He's a middle schooler, but we found an amazing sensei at the high school. So I dropped the middle schooler off at the high school very early for Japanese. And then I run down to the SEAL base because I found I can actually run to the ocean pretty quickly. But the thing is, with COVID, all of the bathrooms anywhere are always closed and locked. I just had the most amazing experience the other day where I actually found a bathroom was unlocked, and I was in there talking to myself like, wow, I'm in a bathroom. This is amazing. So like that was my wilderness experience, euphoria of finding an open, unlocked bathroom.
That's exciting. We need to talk seriously. We need just the whole, we've got a segment on our Thursday show we haven't used in a while. It's called On the Couch, where we have some therapy for certain people. So maybe we'll have a session for Allie.
I have a lot of shows that are shows. I have a lot of shows that are not fit for public consumption.
There you go.
The most embarrassing stories anyone could ever have.
Well, you're up there pretty good. But
I told them before, and people were like, "What?"
Before I forget to, so Thursday night we're having at the Gotham Comedy Club in Lower Manhattan. We're having a comedy show. And the proceeds from that show are going to the Warrior for Life Fund. It's just right down in Fairview. Yes, so it'll be a fun event.
Wow.
The guy running is this Craig Carton. Craig's a fantastic guy. He was on the morning sports show with the Boomer Esiason, a former football player. Craig got himself in trouble. He's a gambling. I guess he's a gambling addict. And has found out, and he's been very open in discussing all this now, that it goes back to he was abused as a child. He was at a Boy Scout camp. I think it was a Boy Scout camp or at some camp. And he's gone to therapy and everything. He spent some time in prison. But I know Craig well. He's a fantastic guy. He's getting help, and he's very open now to talk about it. So people, part of what we wanted to accomplish with this comedy night we're putting on, that people understand that it's good and important to talk about the mental health issues we have discussed, and there's going to be a lot of them coming up here. There is a lot now, a lot more coming up here because of this pandemic and people being locked in. So.
Oh, for sure. I was just talking to my friend Lucy about coming on your show and when she's free. So we're going to try. It may not be noon. So Grasshoppers, I'm dying for you to meet my friend Lucy. So
is Lucy a real person? Is this don't people have people they make up?
I have lots of imaginary friends, yes, but no,
imaginary friends. Sure. So you promise that this is a real person.
She's amazing. She is truly one of the most incredible people I've met in a long time. So if you have to shift your show to a different time, please let the Grasshoppers know, because they won't want to miss talking to her. But her whole focus is on helping people accept themselves and accept that mental health and physical health go hand in hand. And how do we help people navigate forward and create opportunities in their own lives to take better care of themselves. And she's just a lovely person, so accepting,
That's fantastic.
And
I like that.
I think we're at a place in this pandemic where we need to accept who we are. We need to accept differences. We need to stop name calling and shaming and arguing and shouting, and accept that some things are just not terribly clear. And also accept some of the things that have been a struggle, like, COVID is around probably to stay. We have to begin accepting that. Yeah. And what does that look like? And how do we navigate forward in that? So
you're right, though, too. It's so hard. I think with social media, it makes it even harder now for people to look at themselves and say, well, geez, I'm not as good as that person, or I've got these faults, instead of just saying, look in the mirror and saying, man, I'm one fantastic human being.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or just, I find humor such a lovely thing, and people who are humble. And so those two things, if I can do a better job of hanging on to humility and humor, it just makes the whole day so much better. And I don't get wrapped around the axle about, slight irritations, because I just remember, hey, I don't have all the answers by far. I am learning from everybody around me all the time.
I agree 100%. That's the thing. There is no perfect person, because you don't want to be perfect, because you always want to be getting better and better all the time. There's no such thing as being perfect. Yeah.
Well, and to be honest with you, the challenges the pandemic has presented have really introduced me to incredible people that I never would have met otherwise.
Sure.
So every time we try to problem solve something, understand something, or some conflict comes up, or some big debate or argument comes up, I end up meeting people who are just unbelievable.
All right, here we go. That's the way, Lorraine. I'm fantastic, outstanding. That's the way. Yes. Look in the mirror, and look in the mirror while look in the mirror while you're doing it too, and going, yes.
Yes. Every now and then I sneak onto my husband's Facebook page and I see your amazing, wonderful, positive comments. So yes, you are.
Definitely. That's true. Seriously, a lot of things we talked about in the past that I just kind of took for granted in life, and as I've gotten older, I've noticed things more. And in the gyms are always packed with mirrors, right? And you think to yourself, well, of course, you're going into the gym because you want to look good. So look at yourself in the mirror. Just don't stand there and stare at yourself, but look at yourself and say, yeah, I'm getting it done.
I was just somewhere the other day. I can't remember where I was. I was in like a dressing room or something, but my kids were around, so it couldn't have been a dressing room. But I was somewhere where the mirror made me look amazing. It might have been a hotel room.
It wasn't the mirror. Don't put it that way. It was not the mirror that made you look amazing. You are amazing. Great.
I was like, that's what I look like?
Yes.
Maybe it's because I only see like neck up. I don't ever see the whole.
No qualifications. I'm a sexy beast as far as beasts go. I like that. There you go, Tim. Good job, bud. Gosh.
That's a good profile picture too.
Yeah, he's a stud. He's a stud. Yep.
Yes. What other positive comments do we have? Self-affirmation. My kids call me a maniac. And
it's good. It's good to be a maniac. Live life like a maniac, all out, all the time. Anything in life that is worth doing is worth overdoing.
You know what I thought might not have been good today is I ran onto the SEAL base, but my T-shirt said stealthy. I was thinking maybe that's not the best shirt.
Yeah, I'm not in a Navy SEAL base. No, yeah, definitely. Well, listen, I've got to cut this a little short today. We're 30 minutes anyways. I've got a meeting I've got to get to. So we'll run. Great job. We're with 30 minutes anyway. So yeah, good to see you again.
Good. I have to run too. The mom taxi is
off. And, go find an imaginary friend named Lucy for us so you can get her on the show. Just go hire somebody and say, listen, I need somebody to be called Lucy.
Lucy will be here.
Okay. All right.
Awesome. See you, buddy. Thanks, Tom. Take care, everybody.
See you guys.